And welcome, everybody, to another Nothing Like a Good Book. And there isn't there, when you cozy up on that couch or in the corner, wherever you may be, in bed perhaps. And that's what this show is about. I try to feature unknown authors, but there's a lot of them out there. And if you know of anybody that could, do with a break and get some promoting done, by all means, mark@markbishopmedia.com. Okay? I've got a very interesting guest today, a little bit different from the norm. Christin is from a small town in Missouri called St. Joseph. And by the way, I'm Mark Bishop, and Nothing Like a Good Book is one of the shows on markbishopmedia.com, division of Tucson Business Channel. And we broadcast from the Stewart Title and Trust corporate offices on Broadway in Tucson. That's where my studio is, okay? Just for the heck of it. So this young lady attended the University of Colorado in Colorado Springs and obtained a marketing degree while beginning her journey in the hospitality industry. Welcome, Christin.
Thanks for having me, Mark. Appreciate it.
Hey, I'm just so pleased to have you here. You've worked across many different concepts, including fine dining, a 5-star, a 5-diamond hotel, a speakeasy of all things, casual Italian, and casual French concepts. And you also spent, 7 years working for one of the fastest growing brunch chains in the US. Wow, what a busy girl. Now, out of all of those, what was your favorite?
I would have to say I've got two favorites. I loved working in the fine dining restaurant that was inside the 5-star, 5-diamond hotel. Mm-hmm. That's where I really cut my chops when I was in my early 20s. Started.
Excuse the pun.
Yeah, exactly. Learned about management, learned about fine dining, learned about French cuisine, worked for some incredible mentors.
Fabulous. This sounds great. Where was that?
It was in Colorado Springs.
Okay. And what was the name of the joint?
It was called Summit. I believe it's called Mountain. No, they've changed the name perhaps, but it used to be called Summit.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's attached to the Broadmoor Hotel.
Interesting. Well, isn't it nice though to work in a place that, really tries to be professional?
Yes.
And do it all right. Service is a wonderful thing. So the Diamond Hotel, a speakeasy, explain that one to me.
Yeah. So the cocktail bars that were around during Prohibition, the underground places where you had to have passwords to get behind doors in order to access the bar. So ours was, I was a managing partner for a group in Denver. Our speakeasy was in a historic building in downtown Denver.
Okay.
And you had to go down a dark staircase and then enter a pie shop and then kind of find the door to be greeted and taken to your seat.
Well, my obvious question is this. The pie shop, did they own that or was it somebody else's?
It was all of our concepts. We took over a basement space and put it, kind of dissected it into 3s.
So did you sell many pies?
A few.
All right, because on the way through, or on the way out, you'd be starving.
If they maybe had one too many cocktails, they'd stop for a slice of pie on the way out. Mm-hmm.
Well, I've never been to a speakeasy, so there you go. And that's
incredible.
For any listeners traveling, visiting Arizona, or you're going north to north to Colorado.
Mm-hmm.
By all means, check it out. And the place is called?
It's not open any longer. It's called Green Russell, but there are some fabulous speakeasies in Denver still.
Okay.
And we've got some great ones in town too. So.
All right. What, here?
Mm-hmm.
In Tucson?
Yeah. There's some hidden gems.
Well, then what do I know? Come on, we got to plug them.
They're a little too hidden, right?
Aren't they? I've never heard of them either. Yeah. Come on, tell us about them.
Well, I haven't been to any. I no longer drink. We're going to go check out one tonight at the Cornet Restaurant. Down by the convention center. They have a gorgeous space. It was an old house that they took over, I believe, 10 years ago.
Okay.
And they have a little cafe that's open during the day, a lovely courtyard that's beautifully landscaped. Okay. And then they have a speakeasy called Nightjar, which is very charming. And then they have a restaurant as well.
Well, there you go.
I would promote them.
Any visitors to Tucson then? There you go.
Yeah.
Welcome, and keep that one in mind, okay? You did do Italian and casual French concepts in your training.
Yeah.
Because what we're getting here is this lady is a very specialized consultant to the restaurant industry. is it really just the restaurant industry or
Yeah.
is it food and beverage industry?
No, I've opened 13 restaurants in my life, and I love helping independent restaurant owners.
Wow, 13. Mate, this is a tough industry. What on earth led you down into the track?
Well, like most people, I started cooking when I was 15. It was my first job and fell in love with it. And I put myself through college while working in the industry.
Good on you.
Yeah.
Well
and
done.
Which many people do.
So was it your mom or grandma, perhaps? Where did you get the cooking skills from?
So
you
I'm
think?
I'm front of house focused, and I'm a terrible cook. I'm the sous chef of the house. My husband's the chef. I prepare the meals. I do all the shopping, and then I chop everything and get it prepped and ready to go, and he puts it together. I spent a little time on the line, but it is not where my
Right.
strengths lie. I love running the business as a whole, so
Okay.
I'm mostly out front.
Well, that's a great thing to hear. It's unusual, isn't it? Husband
Yeah.
and wife working like that. That's pretty good. When we talk about the casual Italian, what does it mean, the terminology?
Yeah, this was a beautiful concept. I loved this concept. It was called an osteria. So it was a very casual space where people would come and drink wine and have a lot of small plates of food. We had a really fun, innovative menu with house-made cheeses and house-cured meats. We would combine those ingredients to create amazing pizzas. And we had a rotisserie right in the middle of the dining room. So we'd have lamb and chicken.
Oh my God, I'd be
beef.
eating all the time in a place
incredible.
like that. It's very difficult.
But it was very high volume. So I
Yes.
was able to bring all the skills that I had learned from the fine dining experience that I had into a high volume. And it was just, we had an amazing team of people, great food, great ambiance, and, beautiful location. So it was all the
Everything.
perfect ingredients you needed to have a recipe for
Gee,
success.
I hope you've kept an album of beautiful, photos of all your experiences in restaurants.
You know what? Like, we didn't have smartphones back then, right? This was or I didn't, at least. I think I had a Motorola Razr in 2007. So I didn't take as many photos as I would have now.
Okay, so then you went on to, spending, 7 years, and we talk about one of the fastest growing brunch chains in the US. Now, test me. What would be a brunch chain? Oh, not something like a bread beyond bread.
No, I don't know if they're national or not. So I was working with Snooze AM Eatery. We have 2 locations in Tucson.
Oh, okay.
They're probably up to 70 or so locations now.
Snooze, all right.
And First Watch was our number 1 competitor.
First Watch.
Growing nationwide.
Okay.
But there's the Denny's and the Perkins and the IHOPs, right?
The Denny's have been around a long time.
Different clientele. Yeah.
And so the others, famous chains. So after doing all those others and, to work for a chain, what did you get out of that?
Well, it was interesting. I knew the brothers that originally had started and owned the company, and I wanted to go work for them because I highly respected what they were doing. And they had 6 locations at the time, and I had never worked for a restaurant group that had 6 of the same concept. I had always been opening different concepts. And so I believed in their values and what they were trying to do from an impact perspective around community and sustainability and offering a great experience. I did not know when I got hired that we were going to expand into a national level. That kind of came shortly thereafter. And that was never a goal of mine to work for a chain. I really liked the independent space and the creativity.
Yes, I would have thought so,
and the empowerment.
But you got a good experience out of it.
Got a great experience, learned a ton. I knew, based on my experience with that brand, how successful it was and how much of a cult following it had. So I was really excited to see what we could do. And we ended up opening, we went from 6 to 48 locations in 7 years.
Wow.
With that. And now they're just continuing to explode.
Okay.
It's a great company.
That's fantastic. But, you yourself, you started as a line cook at 15 years old, worked your way up to managing partner by the age of 30. Hell of a journey on the way through. This is all in your book, yes?
Yes.
Fabulous. We're going to get to that. How did you know that life was for you? So young,
I'm very hungry. I'm very driven. I'm an only child. I put a lot of pressure on myself to be successful. And when I graduated college with a marketing degree, I wasn't sure what I wanted to do. And I started looking for jobs, and I was looking at how much money I was making at the hotel, and I was having a blast. I loved going to work every day. I loved interacting with different guests every day. I loved saying yes to all their requests.
Isn't that marvelous? Talk about capital service.
It was just every day was different, fun, and creative, and I loved the people I worked with. And so I went to the food and beverage manager of the hotel, and I said, how do I do this for a career? how do I do this for the rest of my life? And he said, take our program. And that just, every time I raised my hand and started to advocate for myself, doors started to open, which is a big lesson in the book.
Did you get approached at all, in the restaurants by people dining there who may be head of something somewhere,
Did I get approached?
Approached for jobs, offers?
No, not really at the hotel. I mean, I think down the road for sure. I mean, I built a lot of...
Yeah, that's what I mean. In the restaurants, people, a lot of people in the game go to places and they know talent when they see it.
Right.
That is what I'm getting at, because it's hard to get good talent.
I was very passionate about building a network of people around me in the industry that I can learn from and grow from, grow with. And so by doing that, establishing myself in some part of community organizations, like here we have Tucson Originals, which is an independent group of restaurant owners. We had something similar in Denver called Eat Denver. I got to know people on a personal level, and so opportunities came out of those relationships.
Very
for sure.
good, very good.
Yeah.
Well, you are a distinguished restaurant coach,
yes,
author, speaker, and you're host of the Restaurant Leadership Podcast. Tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah, my leadership podcast is, I do kind of 3 different styles of episodes. I love to show people in the industry what coaching is, because it's very unfamiliar to people in the restaurant industry. So I do live coaching shows. I interview other independent restaurateurs so that people can have different perspectives and learn from each other and hear other people's struggles and their successes as well. And then I do some solo leadership development episodes on there too. So there's a nice blend of
where can that be
content.
heard? What's it called?
Yeah, the Restaurant Leadership Podcast, and you can find it anywhere you listen to your shows.
Okay, all the popular podcast platforms. Just go back over that little bit again for me. That was very interesting. There are 3 things you offer in the show, with the last being the leadership segment. The 2 before that.
Yeah, so I do coaching style episodes. So I coach people live.
Now,
on the show.
Who do you coach?
I coach some of my clients, and then I coach some people that are interested in being coached.
Which are restaurants?
Restaurant owners and operators.
Restaurant owners and operators. Yeah. And what about normal, Mr. Mark in the public?
Yeah. Well,
me too? Do I get coached?
It depends on what the audience is looking for, right? So I have coached some people that are in my similar space looking to transition out of restaurants and start their own company supporting their business. I think we can all gain different perspectives from everyone's stories, but I do try to stay in my lane in terms of what's going to resonate with restaurant owners and
all right,
and
well, that's the coaching component, and that's live. How do you do that?
I have a little recording studio that I set up in my house, and I just record virtually with people all over the world.
Interesting. What, online or on the phone?
Online.
Okay,
yeah.
Cool.
Yeah.
Author, the book now we're talking about, you've just mentioned, we're going to be, this, by the way, can it be bought on your...
It's available on my website and
website.
on Amazon if you'd like printed copy, ebook, or audiobook.
Okay, fabulous. We're going to be talking more about that. A speaker and the host of Restaurant Leadership. Where do you do your keynote speaking? Is that what you're referring to? You get invited to?
I do keynote speaking. I also lead leadership workshops for restaurants, or sometimes I host my own. And I work with restaurant owners to host 2- and 3-day leadership retreats.
So what would go on at one of those? These are all chefs, are they, from around the joint?
I mean,
across America.
There's a lot of good food that has to be, part of the retreat. Right. We focus on leadership development. There's a coaching element. People can have, I do group coaching with people to overcome some of their biggest challenges.
Again, these are restaurant owners.
Yep, restaurant owners and their teams,
and
so
their
their
teams,
managers.
Right.
Yep.
Are there still many owners that are the chefs?
Yes, quite a few.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Yeah.
And these, where would you have these weekends?
The retreats. So sometimes we rent, depending on the size of the group, we rent an Airbnb and we bring in a private chef and we just have a blast for a few days.
You've got all the chefs in the world there.
Yeah,
we bring in another one.
We treat people to massages, facials.
Sounds fun.
There's some relaxation and in addition to the leadership development. If the group is larger, we'll rent a hotel and host them there. I've done them all over the country for about 10 years.
Well,
so
when you consider, I mean, you're an all-rounder, aren't you?
Yeah.
You're very skilled and talented.
Thank you.
There's so many, niches in different areas in your industry that you're skilled in, knowledgeable in, and that you can pass on. What is it now? 20 years of experience behind you?
Yeah, don't date me.
Okay, no, you still look very young.
Thank you.
But you have established yourself as a preeminent authority in the field. You've spent time in both fine dining, high volume growth concepts, and Really, as the founder of Solutions by Christin, you partner with independent restaurant owners to address their most pressing leadership and business challenges. So this enables them to focus their time and energy where it matters most. All right. What are you going to teach me, and what are my worst challenges or business challenges? What's behind the scenes when it comes to a restaurant?
Yeah, I mean, there's so much. When
there?
you talk about more than people understand, I think, when they get into the business.
I know, and that's why a shocking question, but I really want to, make you have to earn your dollar here.
Absolutely.
I want listeners to understand just how hard you work.
Yeah.
And what's involved.
When you open a restaurant, you're not just the face of the front of the house or the chef in the kitchen. You need to be an expert in marketing, in finance, in human resources, in facilities, and taking care of your equipment. And you need to be very, very great at developing and taking care of your people.
Okay.
And that's really hard to do when you are a solo owner of a restaurant.
And brand new. I mean, do many come from absolute zip background in food and beverage or restaurants, right? They've done something else all their life, but they say, I've always wanted to own a restaurant.
There's a lot of that.
I bet you
there's a lot of that.
And they think it's all just cook and have friends and they love you and they're always coming back because they love your food and you're king of the heap, right?
Right.
And then there's all this other crap you talk about.
And then you look at your P&L and you're like, I have to manage labor costs.
Your profit
it's really
and loss.
expensive. I have to, finding people is hard. Managing food costs is really hard.
Well, that's what I said. Look, since COVID, that hurt restaurants terribly.
Yeah.
And then I heard, by the year 25, 26, whatever, 70% of all restaurants' food will be home delivered.
Wow.
And now is that, got potential or is that just airy-fairy?
Well, that's a really interesting thing that you bring up. I think there are a couple things that have really hurt the industry. 6 million people left during the pandemic.
Oh.
Those positions have been filled, but they have not been filled by people with experience. There's a lot of new people coming in. So it's putting a lot of pressure on the restaurants. Restaurant guest preferences are also really changing. People aren't going out as much anymore because the price of everything in our world, no matter who we are, have gotten really expensive, right?
It's terribly expensive to go out.
Restaurants have had to raise their prices because their rent is going up, labor goes up every single year, and food is more expensive than it's ever been before.
You've got to pass it on, right?
So it's expensive, and people love convenience now. That's why you see Starbucks closing locations and opening across the street with a brand new building to put in a drive-through. Because people want drive-thrus. They're also making their dining or their cafe areas a lot smaller because people aren't sitting around on their laptops anymore. They're coming in.
Except uni students doing theses, and you can never get a darn seat.
Totally.
I gave up Starbucks because of that.
Yeah.
I got fed up with the nowhere to go.
Yeah.
And I just wanted to think about the day, what I was going to do, just have a coffee, make some notes, not sit there and write a Gone with the Wind. You know what I mean?
Yeah, but preferences have changed. So people now, they want drive-thrus, they want online ordering, they want third-party delivery, and even grocery stores now are carrying more prepackaged foods and meals because people are getting those delivered to their home and choosing grocery over restaurants. So the demand is it's difficult. The competition's stiffer than it's ever been, and you've really got to understand as a restaurant owner how to get your people in the door. And managing all of that stuff is really exhausting because you're also working in your business on the floor 7 days a week for 60 to 70 to 80 hours a week.
Well, you are, and it's long hours as well, but you've got to keep them coming in the door. There's a few aspects I'd love to talk about in this industry, and I know there's people who will be listening to this who may not agree with me, but I think there'd be a lot that would. Because you touched on it earlier, 6 million, it sounds unbelievable, doesn't it? 6 million jobs became vacant because of COVID. You say, wow, we filled them, but we filled them also with no experience, attitudes. I don't know, it's just... If I'm going to pay good money, hard-earned good money, and I've gone to your restaurant because I like the ambiance or, the atmosphere and the food is good, what can ruin it for me? Guess.
Service.
Absolutely. Capital S. Service, attitude, too scared to ask a question, you're going to get snapped at, filthy looks. And then some of them, they're running around, bringing food to the wrong table, and then their bare hands. And then add to that the breathing all over it. When you teach, right? I mean, you excel in personalized one-on-one coaching, facilitating impactful leadership workshops. Do do you go down this road with restaurant owners in reference to, look, you have got to put yourself out for the public?
I've always agreed that service is more important than food. And I had a chef owner who was a business partner of mine, and he agreed with me. And he said, don't tell anybody this.
There's some merit in that. The food doesn't have to be lousy. Right. It can be okay.
We're humans. We crave connection. It's just who we are.
Yeah, it's psychological, isn't it?
It is. And people are trying to come back from the pandemic. That really hurt. All of us isolating really set some people back. Mm-hmm, and people that are coming up in the world now are spending a lot of time on their devices instead of having conversations like we're having right now.
Well, that's just it. I had a flourishing business. I had a lot of local clients who were doing exceptionally well with their lead generation shows for business and so on. When COVID hit, Christin, I lost them all. I put plastic screens up, around the table here and so on for people to come, but naturally they were exceptionally nervous, and they wouldn't do it.
Yeah.
So that pushed me to online, and I took the StreamYard platform because I wanted to be able to produce TV shows, but online.
Yeah.
And I'm doing more of that now across America with clients, producing shows than what I am actually, doing audio stuff. But I still love to do the audio stuff.
It's great. And exactly what you did with pivoting your business is what a lot of restaurateurs have had to do too.
Well, where do you see them going then? How are they going to survive?
Well, they need to really be great with the basics and the foundation of their businesses, which is identifying what their mission is, what their core values are, who they're hiring, what they're hiring for, how they're training, and making sure that their food, service, and ambiance are all completely dialed in and there's intention behind each one of those. Running a restaurant is not simply just putting tables and chairs in place, hiring some people, and then coming up with a menu. There's so much more that goes into it. And so when I work with restaurant owners, typically what they come to me with what they say their biggest challenge is or what their issue is, it's not. There's something else behind that. So we really dive deep to figure out what that problem is.
Right.
And then we start peeling back to layers.
Now, one of the things that has turned me off greatly, also going out to dine and so on, is the expectancy of massive tipping. Now, I come from a country where, as a kid, I worked tables. But I also used to light the cigarettes in those days for them, right? And I'd clean the ashtray.
Yeah.
And I'd do what I ever had to do to work my guts out to get a tip.
Yeah.
I made more tips than I ever made in wages.
Yeah.
All right?
Yeah.
But you worked for them. It wasn't just expected. Now, if I go out, 18, 20 or 25, you barely serve me.
Yeah.
I've had the food sitting, another third pet hate. You finish your plates and they sit there.
Yep.
No one collects them. Oh, it's not my table.
No, there's no attention to detail.
Walk past, pick them up, get them out of the way.
Yeah.
Food stinks when it's finished. Yeah. Whether it's tomato sauce still on the plate or something else. Yeah. We're done. Thank you so much. Take the plates away so I can sit at the table maybe and talk about other business or something. Maybe I'll even order desserts.
Yeah.
Do you teach that sort of stuff?
Yeah, we're teaching people the wrong lesson by having tips everywhere. Businesses are doing it because costs are rising and they're trying to save money, right? And it's ridiculous.
What are they paying? What's an average server get now per hour?
It depends on the state. They're all completely different. Here it's 13 and change. Denver it's 18 and it's going up $1 every year for infinity. So they're on track with New York and Washington. So
that was a difference, yes. In Australia, it used to be 25 an hour. Therefore, you got good wages, but by gee, you did your job well.
Right.
On time, uniformed, looking nice.
Yeah.
And then tips were a bonus.
Yeah.
But what is it that gives the right here, though, in America to do it automatically on a machine? It's because I feel bad.
It's businesses trying to save money and not having to pay more in labor, but just passing that on. If there's tips that people are paying, they can just lump that all into the tip pool, or they can put on a service charge, and then the restaurant doesn't have to pay that server more. They're just collecting the tips from the guests. And so it's becoming more automatic now, like you said, but it's teaching the wrong lesson. Tips should be earned. So you agree
with that? It's wrong.
Yes, absolutely.
And if you had your way when you do your training and teaching and so on, you're not short in coming forward and saying to them, look, quite frankly, don't do this. Yeah. This is not worth the effort.
It depends on your business model, because fast casual is much different than counter service, which is much different than full service. But when it comes down to the guest experience, if you have very set, clear expectations and training where you are teaching people steps of service, I talk about this a lot with clients. What is your expectation? Step 1, greet the table within 30 seconds. Step 2, take a drink order. Talk to them about the menu. Ask if they've been into the restaurant before. Be a tour guide for them. Start creating an experience. All the way to make sure they have their silverware. Make sure their drinks are full. Make sure you're clearing their plates. Make sure you're offering dessert.
Yeah,
dropping a menu,
them,
right?
Very slow on getting you the drinks, a lot of them,
Yeah.
You've got to sit, take your time, look at the menu. You've got to decipher what you think you feel like. Well, there's nothing nicer than doing that if you're sipping on a cold beer or a nice glass of wine.
Yeah.
But if you shove the menu down firstly, and there's a glass of water, and what do you want to order? Whoa. Hang on a minute.
Yeah.
Just got here. How about asking, would you like a drink?
Yeah. There's a difference between customer service and hospitality.
Right.
And a lot of restaurants these days are missing the mark on the service steps. Hospitality is about welcoming somebody into your home, right? What do? You go open the door, you welcome them in, you offer them something to drink, you sit and chat for a while, right? And then you feed them. And I think the art of hospitality is getting lost in all of the stress that the industry is going on right now.
Is the stress of the industry causing just bums on seats, packs, like, they call them packs in tourism? What's it called in the restaurant game when you can get rid of 4, they have dinner, then the table's cleared, another 4
turning
sit down.
tables.
Just turning tables, right? Yeah. Is the accent on that because of the dollar?
People are feeling the impact everywhere. Again, because it's so expensive, because there's more competition opening up, because chain restaurants are able to stay competitive and keep their prices low because they have all this tremendous buying power. And again, the convenience factor. It's so different.
Well, you're very honest about it, but honestly, is there a future? Mom would think, where's the future in that game?
Fine dining is still doing really well. People are still spending money. That the people that have money are still spending money, and they still have good taste, and they want their great wines, and they want their classic cocktails, and they want their food. Where we're feeling the biggest pain point and pressure right now is the mom and pop individual restaurants.
Right.
Because again, with the drive to convenience, counter service and fast casual, that quick service QSR is really, really, they've got a lot of the market share right now.
Right.
And it's really hurting the mom and pops.
Yeah, the battlers.
Yeah.
And yet you see some little places on corners, they've even got a queue. Lined up in the street.
Love it.
They must be doing something right.
I want to be there. So I've got some friends that hate standing in line. If I see a line, I'm standing in it because I've got FOMO. I want to know what's going on.
I hate standing. I'm not patient at all. Well, mate, you love talking about leadership and discussing burnout. How do you deal with this? I tell you what, if I was ever going to open a restaurant, you'd be it. I don't care if I had to bring you from Vanuatu. You would be it because I know you'd do it right.
Yeah.
Well,
I think, leadership. I started out as a restaurant manager, and there's a progression for everyone here that are in the business, whether you're 24 or 42 or 65 and you're still in it. There's a progression that happens between being a great manager and then transitioning into leadership. And I didn't realize it until much later in my career, what leadership was, why it was important, the gravity of it. And so I work a lot with clients on that and just understanding how to be a great leader and how to show up really, really well for your teams every single day.
What I'm pleased to hear about, to be honest with you, we're not a Phoenix and we're not a Chicago. We're little old Tucson, honey. 600,000 population, out to 1 million with the snowbirds here. Yeah. Thank you. We love you so much. We need you. Keep coming back, even though I hate your damn traffic. Anyway, nearly had one today, but God love you. Thank you. Wherever you're from, keep coming and supporting our restaurants. My wonderful guest, and boy, is she talented, Christin Marvin. Remember that name. Her company's called Solutions by Christin. All right. And you can even email her, talk to her. Maybe you're listening and you're thinking of opening a restaurant. Hey, it's Christin L. Marvin. CHRISTINL Marvin @gmail.com. This will be on the markbishopmedia.com website, this whole interview and her bio and photograph. And, of course, it goes out to all of the podcast platforms, the popular ones, the Spotifys and your Apples and this and that. I think also on, I said Spotify, didn't I? Yeah, I think they're 60-70% really of the listening when it comes to those, but there's a lot of others. Now, Facebook.com, what have you got with that? Have you got the book on that?
No, so I'm on a mission to provide as many leadership development resources as I can. So I post, I live a lot on LinkedIn. So I post social media leadership content every single day on LinkedIn before service.
Right.
And then I post on Facebook and Instagram.
But that's all
as
over
well.
the joint, right? LinkedIn is mainly businesses and so on, all over the place. So you telling me you fly out of Tucson to consult?
Yeah.
You do?
Yeah. I work with people on an international basis.
Wow.
Right now, working nationally, I do a lot of my coaching virtually.
Okay.
So I don't fly too often, but in 2 weeks I'll be out in Denver.
It used to be fun, but not anymore.
3-day.
The flying bit.
Well, again, with the pandemic, because so many people got comfortable with Zoom, we can do so much on virtually now, and it's so much more cost effective.
Well, it is, and I remember the old days. I mean, I've been around a little bit, and I have a one-man army business, and I got to do a lot of things, but I waste a week just taking phone calls of people trying to pitch me stuff, and they're all online. They're appointments, they're this and that, but I learn what's out there, who's doing what, how. That's what I like to do, because I'm launching, a new thing, and clients ask questions, and you've got to be able to answer them like you do. But what I was getting at before was, to come to Tucson, I didn't think we had that many restaurants left, and we lost a lot with COVID, and a lot of them were suffering. A good friend of mine was in the food game, and she's now in Canada. She's won the Bear Award and a few other things, Jenny, and she's had her own show on my channel. But you couldn't survive, could you, just Tucson? Your company. You have to get business around.
Well, I enjoy working with people on a national basis. Living in Colorado for 23 years, it's important to me to cultivate that community of people. I love them.
A lot of Coloradans?
I spent a lot of time there,
Right.
I
come here.
Yeah.
Why? What's the pull, do you think?
Well, my husband was born here. And we decided I burned myself out in the industry. So that's why we're here. He's a true native. Designed our new lifestyle, what we wanted to do. He wanted to golf 4 days a week, and I wanted to hike and run and be outside all year round. So that was the draw for us.
Oh, well, that makes sense. What's his handicap,
I don't know. He shoots par often, but I don't know what his handicap.
Okay.
His license plate says shot par.
Oh, smart.
If you see him driving around.
No worries. Tell him that. I'll give him a whack. I'm a member of the 49ers golf.
Oh, great.
But I haven't played for nearly 9 months. I've been pretty ill this
we
year.
live right over there, so you let me know.
There you go. We live in the 49ers too. But I miss it terribly, and I'm retired, but I came back to work 7 years ago. My wife's upset with me. She's nuts. She wants to travel. And she's a Bruce Springsteen fan, a real... what's it called? Spring nuts.
I love it.
And she travels the world going to the shows because all her friends all over the world, they're lovely people. They stay at our home. She goes, stays at their place. They come in from Australia. They come in from Canada, Europe, and she's off to Milan in June.
Good for her.
For a big show over there. So she's been learning Italian.
Amazing.
I love Italian restaurants, I got to tell you.
Yes.
Look, I had somebody on the show. They actually teach Italian while you have lunch.
I love that.
At an Italian restaurant.
I mean, Italian's easy. I think when we've traveled to Italy, I speak Spanish well, but and we've traveled to Mexico every year for 10, 11 years.
Okay.
So it's easy to pick it up more when you get down there.
Yeah.
But Italian, we've all been dining at Italian restaurants forever, so it's fairly easy to pick up, and it's similar. There's some similarities.
In Australia,
Spanish,
if you go to Melbourne in Australia, my hometown, there's a famous suburb called Carlton. And in Carlton is where all of the famous Italian restaurants are. Now, if you go to another suburb, it's Fitzroy and so on, you've got a lot of Vietnamese, different nations again. So different suburbs foster different nations. Food gourmet galore, you know what I mean? But I used to I loved the Carlton and the Italians. But I got to tell you, my favorite, right? Veal Parmigiana.
Delicious.
Now, they did it with the beautiful veal, right? And then you would put... what was on top of that? There was a special piece of meat. Then there'd be cheese.
Like prosciutto?
Yeah, and then there'd be cheese, okay, and then all the topping. And then finished off with a beautiful meat sauce, right?
Amazing.
That's veal Parmigiana. I cannot get it here. Since I've been in America.
I haven't looked for it.
I have not been able to get it. It's all chicken. They all do chicken Parmigiana. All vegetarian.
Yeah.
Right? So chicken must be easier to do.
Well, veal is controversial.
Is it?
Yeah.
Why?
Because it's baby. It's a baby cow.
Oh, okay.
Like you can't get it at Whole Foods.
Oh, that's it. I'll never get to do it again. No, that'd be sad. No more.
There are some rebels out
It's
there.
like my wife.
Restaurateurs like
When
to
I
be
first
rebels.
took her to Australia, Fairdick, and we went to a farm and she held baby lambs. And I love lamb chops, which another thing I can't get here, but good lamb chops, they're so expensive.
Yeah.
Good Lord. And there's more sheep in New Zealand than what there is in Australia, to be honest with you.
Yeah.
But the reality was we were in this beautiful little farm and this lady called all her little lambs by names and they came running. And Nancy held one and she felt the heartbeat, right? That was it. Never ate a chop again. Never ate lamb again.
I love it.
Unbelievable.
We love exotic meats. We love French cuisine too.
Very rich.
We love to go, so you can eat it a lot. But we love to go to Forbes and buy his meat selection is extraordinary and very
Forbes,
high quality.
where's that?
He has a new location over in the 5 Points neighborhood.
Okay. Forbes
Great.
Butcher? Meatery? Forbes?
It's called Forbes Meat Company.
Okay.
But I can't remember the cross streets, but it's near downtown.
All right, so it'll be online anyway. Forbes Meat Country for good meat, huh?
Company, yeah. It's
You'd
great.
recommend that? So
and they have a restaurant now too.
They do?
Yeah, it's extraordinary.
I love a good steak, and for my anniversary, 25th anniversary, my wife took me to Fleming's for the very first time. And I ran into old friends there. It was lovely. And I got to tell you, the service was astronomical. The food was amazing.
Yep.
And the ambiance was lovely. Yeah. You pay for it.
Yeah.
But by gee, I got to tell you, it's on my number one list.
Yeah.
But this is it. I mean, and yet I also love the Outback.
Yeah.
For different reasons. Plus, he also sponsors Tucson Means Business, don't you? Good old Matt.
I love it. I worked it out back when I was 19, and I still love that blooming onion. So.
You do?
I do.
Oh,
I mean, my heart is in independent restaurants, but
you're right.
Sometimes
one of the chains.
I go to the chains.
Yeah, they do. That's really nice. I can afford that one.
Yeah.
And the new dessert is amazing. It's copied after Australia's Kit Kat, but with ice cream and other stuff. But I'm on a very special lose weight thing, and I've lost 45 pounds now.
Wow, good for you.
Yes, this year so far. And I've got a sweet tooth.
Me too.
I love my desserts, right? And seize candies and stuff. But no, I got to watch it at my age because as soon as you start enjoying life, along comes diabetes too. And it's the next thing. Do you think there'll ever be restaurants that are geared at health?
Well, there are some, sure. I mean, you're seeing more and more of that. Gen Z is a very healthy generation. They're not drinking alcohol as much. They're more into, again, convenience, smoothies, acai bowl shops, vegan restaurants. They're more health conscious as far as, just what they're consuming and it being environmentally focused as well. So.
And what about all the stuff we're seeing on the news? Now, again, this morning, being an TV news anchor and a journalist and stuff, I take notice of things, okay? And the reality is they're waking up to what's going into America's food, what we're eating.
The new healthy label.
It's unbelievable, yeah. But I mean, it's scary.
It's terrifying.
So how do you get on in restaurants to know you're buying right? How do you tell people? How do they trust you?
It's about telling a great story. It's about asking the right questions. One of the groups that I used to work for, before we would start buying any meat or produce or anything from someone, we would go visit their location and make sure that they were doing what they said they were doing. And we brought the stories and them back to the restaurant and told our staff. We would have them come in and train the staff too and just talk about what they do and why it's important. Make sure their values aligned with ours.
Wow.
And then pass that on to the guest experience.
Isn't that a lovely way to do? Solutions by Christin. What's the website?
Yep, ChristinMarvin.com.
ChristinMarvin.com. It's not solutions, right? It's not solutions by Christin.
You can find
That's
that.
The company,
I've got a few domains I own, so you can find that.
Okay,
too.
But the book is called
The Hospitality Leaders Roadmap: Move from Ordinary to Extraordinary.
The Hospitality
Leaders Roadmap.
The Hospitality Leaders Roadmap. Subtitle?
Move from Ordinary to Extraordinary.
Move from ordinary to extraordinary. Wow. I can't wait to read it. Because to me, it's a motivational book too.
Yeah.
I tell you now, thank you. It's been wonderful having you. Good luck with your podcast. You're busy. This commute, you never know where it's heard. I get emails and letters from overseas. So that's the one thing about podcasting. We're not limited to an area, right?
Yeah.
It can be picked up anywhere. So
there
you go. Anybody who's thinking of starting a restaurant or you just don't know what you're doing wrong, you've worked your butt out, you've put all your money into it, your savings. I'd love a little place on the beach in the Caribbean somewhere.
Let's do it.
Right. a shack that does great food, where people come, and a little studio out the back where I can interview people from all over the world.
Love it.
I would love that. That's my goal.
Let's design it.
I'd love
Happy
that.
to help.
Yeah, all right. You're on. Believe me, I'll hold you to it. Listen, Christin, thank you so much again for your time and effort. I wish you so much success. You deserve it. You're a hard worker. You've worked hard to achieve and accomplish what you've done. The book has got to be a #1 seller. It's on Amazon now.
Yes.
I could order it if I wanted to on Amazon. And have they said anything? What category does it go under?
There's many categories: business management, business leadership. I've got 6 or 7 different categories.
Oh, well, let's hope it gets to #1 on one.
Thank
of
you.
them.
I hit 17, number 17. So,
Woo! All right.
Yeah.
Well, we've got to bump it up there for you.
Thank
Christin Marvin, ladies and gentlemen, I hope you enjoyed it on this episode of Nothing Like a Good Book with Mark Bishop. Lovely. I hope I see you soon.